How's it going, boys? And welcome to a Beau Akey career simulation. We got a comment in our Matvey Michkov career simulation from McDangles saying that he wanted to see Beau Akey. Beau Akey was drafted 56th overall in that second round by Edmonton. So we're going to see what his career would pan out with. If you guys don't know how these videos work and you're new to the channel, I go through his entire career, taking control of a completely different team in a completely different conference, so I have no control over when he signs his entry-level deal, his line mates, or anybody else on the team, or anything like that. So that's how we do this video. We're just here to watch and observe his career. I did improve his stats because he was like a 62 overall medium top 6 potential player, so I did increase his stats a little bit so that he can make the NHL, or it's more likely that he will make the NHL in this universe, because we do want to see some NHL action, maybe 3 years of juniors, maybe 4 years, when you're in the AHL, something like that. But we should get to see some NHL gameplay in this episode for sure. This is actually my second time recording this thing because I got 15 years through his career and my files corrupted, so learned a lesson from that. But either way, you guys don't really care about that. Let's get to the NHL Draft, the 2023 NHL Draft, and I'll make sure he goes to Edmonton. He'll probably go like 11th or 12th or something like that, so we'll get there. This is what his stats look like to start off with. He's an amazing skater. He's got 3-star, well, amazing. He's a really good skater in the real world, a top prospect skater for sure, with some decent offensive and defensive awareness, a decent two-way defenseman, with some top bottom 6 potential, for that real world, his real world projection probably. So, but either way, we're not here to talk about that. Let's just get to the NHL 2023 draft. Okay, here we are with the 10th pick in the NHL Draft, the 2023 NHL Draft. Edmonton should be selecting Beau Akey. There he is. 70 overall, medium top 4. He got some X factors here. You guys saw at the start of the video. I didn't give him any X factors. So weird how, prospects can just develop X factors over time. Not sure how I feel about that, but either way, he's still a 70 overall. So let's get to his first year. Well, it will be his second or third year in juniors here. In the real world, I believe he's had 2 years, so this will be his third year in the juniors, but in the game, obviously, it's only his second. So let's get to his second junior year and see what happens. Okay, Beau Akey's second year in the OHL will be spent with the Barrie Colts here, still a 70 overall, but let's see what kind of growth he can get in his second season. Hopefully he scores more than 43 points, but I will definitely keep you guys informed. All right, at the end of his second season in the OHL, Beau Akey is up to a 71 overall, still has that medium top 4 potential. Looks like his shot blocking and stick checking went up a little bit. Physical might have gone up a tad as well, but other than that, still very similar to how he was when he entered the league. And I'll see you guys at the start of his third year in the OHL, and hopefully he can grow to 72, 73 maybe. It is a slow build, but I am excited to see him in the NHL one day. All right, boys, the start of Beau Akey's third season in the OHL. He is now a 73 overall. He was hitting the weights there in the off season. Still that medium top 4 potential as well. Defense up to 3 stars, 80 shot blocking and stick checking now. Skating still stuck at 85 acceleration and speed, but I'm sure that will go up with time. It is one of his more impressive categories in the real world. Shooting up there again at 3 stars as well. Physical up to 2 stars, and puck skills 2 stars, as well as census. So let's hope these stuff can improve. Hopefully he gets a little bit better statistical season than last year, maybe 50 points or something in just as many games. Let's hope. So I'm hoping for that, but I will see you guys at the end of his third season. And I ask and Beau Akey delivers. Not only is he up to a 75 overall, but he also had 54 points in 59 games, which is basically what I asked for. He was a +2. His defensive stats have gone up. His speed still remains at 85, physical up to 2.5 star now, as is his puck skills and senses. So he's getting some good growth, but that skating and shooting category have been stuck at 3 star for quite a little bit now. So I'm going to be looking for those to go up in the off season. Hopefully, maybe he can get in the gym, get doing some wind sprints, some bench press, hit that 2-plate PR or whatever. But either way, the end of his third season in the OHL is a good one. So let's get to the start of next year where he could find himself in the AHL perhaps. Okay, and after 3 years in the OHL, Beau Akey does find himself in the AHL for this year. I don't know why he's not playing on that first line, but on that second line behind the veteran Jan Ruda, so hopefully he can learn from him. He is a 76 overall now. That defense going up ever so slightly, as did his speed and acceleration went up to 86 overall. His physical is going up as well. That shooting still stays the same, so hopefully a good AHL season is in store for Beau Akey and he can grow to maybe 78 overall. That would be really, really nice. And, be in those 80s soon enough, let's hope. But let's hope for a good season, and I'll see you guys at the end of it. All right, in his first year in the AHL, he does get injured, so he only plays 61 games out of 72, I believe the AHL season is, but he gets 32 points, which is not bad at all. Oh, he did play 8 games in the NHL actually too, so a little NHL tryout, and he looked really good. Wow, he scored 4 points in 8 games in the NHL there. They must have had an injury up there, but in the AHL, he plays 61 games. That's why he didn't play in the AHL for those 10 games, because he was up in the NHL. That makes sense. So he scores 32 points in 61 games in the AHL, but 4 points in 8 games in the NHL, which is fantastic. He's also a 0, and he grows to a 77 overall, so can definitely be maybe a depth player for the NHL next season. His speed and acceleration up there at 87. Love seeing that. Shooting still remains 3 stars. Physical senses and puck skills 2.5, but defense did go up a little bit as well. So definitely some good growth out of Beau Akey. And we're going to hope for a little bit more over the offseason to maybe push him up into the NHL roster. Who knows? But let's find out. The start of his... Well, it'll be his 5th season not being in the NHL next year, but hopefully it can be his first in the NHL. That would be really nice. All right, boys, this is Beau Akey's 5th year in the simulation here, and he is once again in the AHL with the Bakersfield Condors. He's a 79 overall, though, so grew 2 overall over the offseason. Defense goes up, as does his shooting a little bit. Puck skills up to 3 stars as well, skating up to 88, so he is growing. I think this should be his last year in the AHL here. 79 overall, you're definitely getting to that fringe NHL status. So let's hope that maybe Edmonton calls him up halfway through the season. I'm not sure. But either way, let's hope he has a good AHL season at the very least and potentially gets called up to the NHL as a 79 overall. Okay, and the Bakersfield Condors are in the playoffs here in the AHL. They go 41-20-9, good enough for the AHL playoffs. So let's see what Beau Akey did in the regular season. And Beau Akey plays all 72 games here in the AHL for Bakersfield. He gets 46 points, 39 assists there, still at a 79 overall. And just to show you this team, it's kind of crazy. They have Phil Kessel here, who's leading their team in points. They also have actually I think that's it. But I just thought it was funny that Phil Kessel's down in the AHL for the Edmonton Oilers. But either way, Beau Akey stats look the same as they did at the start of the season. So we'll see what this team can do in the playoffs. And the Bakersfield Condors get swept out in 4 games in round 2, so they do not win the AHL the AHL playoffs. I'm not sure what it's called. I think it's the Calder Cup, isn't it? But either way, they do not win the finals there. Oh my goodness, and if we look at the defenseman of the Bakersfield Condors, Beau Akey is not here, so it would look like he might have got called up to the NHL to help the Edmonton Oilers playoff run, so let me check that. But no, he's not up here either, so maybe he was a healthy scratch or something, but either way, I think Beau Akey here got cheated out of a playoff run with any team, which is pretty crazy because he wasn't in the AHL, as you guys just saw. And I haven't seen his name so far. He's not down here either. Let me check the lines of Edmonton and see maybe if he's injured or if he was scratched for the Edmonton Oilers. And I can't even check because after the playoffs end, you can't see any other team's lines. So I don't even know if Beau Akey... I guess he didn't play a single game or else his stats would be up here. So Beau Akey does not play a single game in the playoffs for either the AHL team or the NHL team this year, but hopefully next season he can get into the NHL lineup with Edmonton, playing alongside of Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and the rest of the team. And it looks like Beau Akey is going to get the shot in the NHL this year. He's 22 years old, starting his first full NHL season. Let's hope it's a good one. Let's look at the team around him. I won't do this every year, but since it's the first one, might as well. They got Thomas Chabot up here with Evan Bouchard, Darnell Nurse on that second line with Sean Walker, and then Beau Akey is with Matt Waugh. Forwards, we have Draisaitl, McDavid, Dylan Holloway, who is an 86 overall. Nice. Kailer Yamamoto with Xavier Bourgault. Is that how you say that? And then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Liam Kirk, Gabriel Velarde at an 87 overall on the third line, Rudolph Balcer. So this is a good team. I think this should be a playoff team for sure. Goaltending-wise, they have Vitek Vanacek and they have Jack Campbell still. So I definitely think this is a good team. I think Beau Akey can make some stuff happen. He's playing that third line time, so he's not going to get too much ice time, but I have faith in him that he can produce relatively decently in his first season. His rookie season, let's see if he can get the Calder. Probably not, but let's find out. And in Beau Akey's rookie season, the Edmonton Oilers here are just good enough to make the playoffs. They go 40, 31, and 11, squeaking in with those 11 overtime losses that kind of helped them over the edge there. And Beau Akey in his rookie season, he gets 18 points in 81 games. He's a -2 as well. Only 18 penalty minutes, though, so pretty good discipline there, playing 16.5 minutes a night. It's not a bad rookie season whatsoever. Missed out one game, but I am a bit surprised because the pace that he was on when he jumped up to the NHL was a 42-point pace or 41-point pace. But now he only scored 18 in 82, so kind of weird simulation from Beau Akey. He still stays at an 80 overall. His statistics look very similar to the start of the year, but we'll see. Maybe in the playoffs he can jump up there. I will check the entire league for rookie skaters and see if I think he'll win the Calder, but I don't think that he will, but we can check that out. Yeah, and I don't think Beau Akey is going to be winning the Calder. He's not even on the first sheet here, so that's probably out the window. But either way, Beau Akey's rookie season is a decent one, and now let's get to the playoffs and see how Edmonton performs. And in Beau Akey's first time in the playoffs, his first year in the NHL as well, he goes out in 5 games to the tough Colorado Avalanche there. So a rough playoff run for sure, but let's see what he did in those 5 games. And not much happened in those 5 games. Beau Akey, he did have a point, but he was also a -2, so, you know, it's a bit of a null and void playoff run. Not very much to say for it. He did average 17 minutes on ice, but let's get to his next year, his second year in the NHL, where hopefully we can see him grow a little bit to maybe an 81, 82 overall. That would be really nice. So let's see what happens in his offseason. He's going to train well and hopefully come back stronger. And year number 2 now, and Beau Akey still remains at an 80 overall. I think he's going to need a good statistical season in order to grow, so I'm not sure if he's going to grow much past 80, but he is on a line with Darnell Nurse, so that should be a plus, 2, 3 maybe. They both have X factors, so hopefully. Then Sean Walker, Ivan Provorov, and Thomas Chabot and Evan Bouchard. So this left side defensive pairing here for Edmonton is really, really strong. Looking at their offense, still looks the same. First line's the same. Second line changed a little bit, but Gabe Velarde now up there on that second line. Nugent-Hopkins here as well still. Third line and fourth line are kind of average, 78s, 79s, 80s, very, very average. Bottom 6, and goaltending is not great. Jack Campbell 79 and Frederik Andersen 78. So I think this team can make the playoffs just because they have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl 98 and 96 overall. They also have 86 overall Dylan Holloway, and they have a good defensive core. So I'm hopeful this team can make the playoffs. It'll be the second time in Beau Akey's career, 2 times in a row as well. So let's see what they can do. And there we are, Beau Akey's second season. He's going to be in the playoffs once again. So it's very nice to see the Edmonton Oilers go 44, 32, and 6. So it's a good record, and they're in a decent spot in the playoffs. So let's see what they can do. And despite Edmonton's better season, Beau Akey has a really rough season here. He only plays 77 games, which is fine, but only 8 points and a -21. I think he's the worst minus on the entire team. Yeah, he is by far as well. So a really rough season out of Beau Akey and Darnell Nurse here. And he only played 15.5 minutes a night, which I think is less than last season. So yeah, pretty rough stuff here, not gonna lie. But hopefully in the playoffs he can turn it around for the Oilers and help them make a decent run. And in the playoffs, it is once again a first-round exit for the Edmonton Oilers. This time, at least, they do make it to 7 games, but still, they're going to be looking to improve over the offseason. And something I forgot to mention to you guys, but well, first of all, if we look at his Beau Akey's overall, he actually dropped to a 79, so that's really bad. But something I forgot to mention is that Beau Akey signed a contract to $1.56 million per year. I believe that was in the off season, like that we just had. So I'm sorry I forgot to show that to you guys, but he is a 79 overall now, and in the playoffs he scored 1 point in 7 games, but he was a +1 at least, so he wasn't hurting them defensively, but he also wasn't chipping in much offensively either. Now that he's dropped to a 79 overall, let's just hope that he can maintain his status in the NHL. Okay, it is Beau Akey's 3rd year in the NHL now, and he has dropped to a 79 still, so that's not great, not gonna lie, and he's on his last year of his $1.56 million deal, so let's hope that he can have a really good season here. He's partnered with Maddox Knight, though, who is a 71 overall, so that's not going to be fantastic, but Beau Akey, he still has some upside potential, but I don't know if he's going to grow much past this point. He's probably going to be a depth defenseman for the rest of his career, which is going to be quite unfortunate. I tried to get it so that he would be like an 82 overall, but he just hasn't grown like that. The rest of the defensive core looks pretty good, though. Offensively, we are still... Oh, we're not great at. We're actually bad. Oh my gosh. On the wings are horrible on this team. 67 overall in the NHL. Are you kidding me? And then goaltending wise, 86 overall, Yaroslav Askarov at least, and then Jack Campbell here as well. So a weird team, bad bottom defensive pairing here with Maddox Knight, and then some rough depth here with 70 overall, and your second line is not ideal whatsoever. So it's going to be a weird season. Let's hope they can make the playoffs, but I don't have my hopes up. And in Beau Akey's 3rd season in the NHL here, the Edmonton Oilers miss out on the playoffs, going 38, 34, and 10. And Beau Akey does not have an amazing season either here. He plays in all 82 games, which is definitely a step up from before, but only scoring 14 points, and he's a -8. It's not ideal at all for who you took in a 10th overall selection. It's not fantastic for, so we're going to see. Maybe he can grow to an 80 overall again and eclipse that 79 overall mark. But last year of his deal, I'll find out where he signs, if he decides to re-sign with Edmonton or take his talents somewhere else where he can get maybe more of an opportunity playing in a top 4 position. But he's listed as a top 6 defenseman. He's a medium top 4 potential still for 1 more year, so let's see where he goes. And look at this, ladies and gentlemen, Beau Akey's 4th season in the NHL, and he has grown now to an 80 overall. He also signed a 2-year deal worth $2.965 million per year, so that's about $6 million for the next 2 years. Pretty good stuff. The defensive core looks good as always here. Partnered with Marcus Pettersson this year. And then offensively, we have drastically improved as well. Second line center of Mika Zibanejad here. And then the 3rd and 4th lines definitely shored up their depth categories. Goaltending is still Yaroslav Askarov. This time we have Gage Alexander, who's a real world prospect drafted in 2021 by Anaheim. So pretty cool stuff. We're hoping for a good season out of Beau Akey. He is now an 80 overall, which we love to see, so his stats go up a little bit there, and let's see what he can do in his 4th season in the NHL. And in Beau Akey's 4th year in the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers have their best year so far in his career. They go 50 wins, 23 losses, and 9 overtime losses. And Beau Akey has a career year. He goes and scores 32 points in 82 games. A fantastic year out of Beau Akey, who his previous career high was 18 points. He almost doubles it for 32 this year, which is really, really impressive to see. He's a 0 as well, so not hurting them defensively. 42 penalty minutes, a little more undisciplined this year, but it is what it is. Also, he was on a power play, so that helps him a little bit. And only playing 16 and a half minutes a night, almost 17 minutes a night. So you put him in that middle 6, man, or sorry, the middle 4, like the top 4. He can maybe get some stuff done. Maybe have a 40-point season, a 50-point season if he really has the best group around him, playing power play time with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Like, we could see some numbers if he's given the chance, but he's still on 1 more year for $3 million. And you know what? As a defenseman, scoring 32 points for only $3 million is pretty dang good. So let's see what they can do in the playoffs. Let's hope that Beau Akey is a big part of their playoff run, because then he might be able to grow a little bit. And once again, the Edmonton Oilers fall in 7 games in the first round. So they have not made it out of the first round since Beau Akey has been on the team, which is very disappointing. And in those 7 games, it's a very small sample size, but Beau Akey has grown to an 81 overall, which is cool to see. But he only scores 2 points in those 7 games. Again, small sample size, so I'm not going to hold it against him or anything like that. But he's getting to, next year will be the last year of his $3 million deal. So let's hope that he can grow a little bit over the offseason. His potential has dropped to top 6, but he's an 81 overall as well. So let's see what he can do with this team. Let's hope for some good things and a little bit of growth over the offseason. And I ask for it and the game will answer. Beau Akey is getting the chance on the first defensive pairing. He's an 81 overall, medium top 6 potential. Stats looking like this. He's got that 3.5-star defense and skating, and then 3-star everything else. So a pretty balanced player. He's playing with Ivan Provorov, who's an 84 overall, and the rest of the defensive pairs look a little bit weak, not gonna lie. Offensively, though, McDavid and Draisaitl still here, although they are in their older age, so they are dropping ever so slightly. The rest of the team is okay. Cole Sillinger is a decent second-line centerman, but other than that, a little bit weak on the wings. But we're going to need to see something big out of Beau Akey. He needs to be their breakout guy. He has the potential. He was a 10th overall selection, so playing alongside of Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, let's hope that he can get some point production this year. And unfortunately, in Beau Akey's last season of his contract, the Edmonton Oilers missed out on the playoffs, going 38, 37, and 7. And in a season where Beau Akey was given the biggest chance of his career, I won't say he squandered it, but he was playing 25 minutes a night and he only managed to score 26 points. It looks like he got injured in that last game as well, so unfortunate end to the season. He was a -3, still an 81 overall though. He could be a decent middle of the pack defenseman for any team that decides to pick him up in free agency, where he will likely be, but he might re-sign with the Edmonton Oilers if they feel that his play suffices for their team. But his stats look similar to the start of this year. 81 overall, missed out on the playoffs, so we're going to hope for bigger and better things. Maybe he moves to more of a contender and plays a little bit less of a role there, because when he was given the chance, he didn't really do too much with it, but I'm still hopeful. I still think he has some offensive upside, so let's see what he does in his 6th season. And here is Beau Akey. He's in his 6th NHL season, and this year he decides to sign on with the Tampa Bay Lightning, who pay him 3 years at $3.61 million to be a bottom 2 defenseman for their team. He's alongside of Isaac Bois. Lassie Thompson is here, and Leon Bichelle, Mikey Anderson with Alexandine Palinka. All right, forwards look like Kevin Fiala with Chaz Lucis, Troy Terry, so not fantastic. Then Joel Farabee, Braden Point, and Brandon Hagel, yeah. Then Anthony Beauvillier, Igor Sharangovich, and Alex Tuck. And then that 4th line, Anthony Mantha, Noah Dower-Nilsson, and Kim Bjorkstrand. Well, either way, let's look at goaltending now. Goaltending is 78 and 67 overall. Yikes. I don't know if this is a playoff team. Personally, I would assume that they are not, but Beau Akey, maybe all he needed was just a new environment. So let's see if he can perform a little bit better with Tampa than he did with Edmonton. And unfortunately, the Tampa Bay Lightning have a horrible year. They finish 5th worst in the NHL, and they go 37, 41, and 4. Beau Akey, however, has the 3rd best season of his career, scoring 10 goals and 14 assists, which is good for 24 points. And he's only a -6 on one of the worst teams in the NHL, so maybe a change of scenery did actually do him a little bit better. He also played 18 minutes a night, so looks like he got bumped up in the lineup. Still an 80 overall, but he definitely had a better season than last year, so let's hope he can continue for the next 2 years of his contract. Okay, Beau Akey's 7th year in the NHL, his 2nd year in Tampa. He's an 80 overall with statistics looking very similar to what we've seen for most of his career. The defensive line here looks pretty similar to before. Ivan Provorov this year, I believe, is new, but it's centered by Alexander Palinka. I say centered because he's like the main star, not because he's playing center. That would be Chaz Lucic on the first line. So this Tampa Bay team looks pretty similar to how it did last year. Again, not sure if it's going to be a playoff team. In goal, we have Art Meyer. I don't know if I checked it last year, so an 85 overall in goal is pretty okay, but again, we're going to need big things out of Beau Akey in order for this team to be a playoff one. And once again, Tampa Bay is a pretty brutal team here, going 34, 39, and 9. Beau Akey, however, in Tampa, he has his best point production season of his entire career. He gets 4 goals, 29 assists for 33 points, by far the best he's ever simulated offensively. Actually, I say by far, it's only by 1 point. But even though Tampa has been a bad team the past 2 years, he's been performing quite well. So on the last year of his deal coming up here, let's see if maybe this team can improve a little bit, or if Beau Akey will move on to a different team, maybe a more playoff bound one. But either way, we're getting to the start of his 8th year in the NHL. Let's see what he can do. Okay, Beau Akey in his 8th season in the NHL. Here in Tampa, we have Lassie Thompson as his partner. There is Aaron Ekblad, 38-year-old Aaron Ekblad, 75 overall on that third defensive pairing. And then Alexander Palinka is still that top guy on the defensive side. Looking at the offense, again, we still don't have a great player here, like somebody who just like a 90 overall is what I mean, you know? So I still don't think this is going to be a very good team. Chaz Lucic is the best player still, but again, I don't think we're going to be a playoff team this year once again. We have Igor Shesterkin in the nets as a 79 overall, and then we have 66 overall Patrick Meach. So yeah, definitely not going to be a playoff team. It's Beau Akey's last year of his deal as well. He's getting paid $4 million. I believe that went up, so I assume that Tampa was under the salary cap, and then the game automatically adjusted all their salaries. So either way, it's Beau Akey's last year of his deal. So let's see if Tampa can maybe become a playoff team somehow, but I honestly can't really see it. And in Beau Akey's last contract year with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Tampa Bay finish last in the league. So very weird simulation. Well, not weird. I kind of expect them to be a horrible team. They go 31, 45, and 6. And man, I'm really hoping for some better years ahead of Beau Akey. And Akey on this really bad team, it's hard to perform well. He scores 21 points in 82 games, but as I said, it's the last year of his deal, so he will be looking to move on to better times. Okay, and in his 9th NHL season, Beau Akey finds himself on the Los Angeles Kings for a 6-year deal at $5.765 million. Just goes to show you how much money defensemen make in franchise mode later on in the years. He's an 80 overall who's done nothing but get 30-point seasons at the most, and he's getting $5.765 million. So pretty crazy stuff. The defensive pairings here aren't great. They don't have high-end talent, but they're relatively deep, I guess. Offensively, though, we do have Adam Fantilli with Quinton Byfield on that top line. We also have some good second liners here, 87 and 86 overall, Morgan Frost and Isaac McAmmond. And then some decent depth players. Goaltending-wise, we have Ola Ekholm, a medium elite 84 overall. So an okay team. I could definitely see them making the playoffs, which is sorely needed in Beau Akey's career, as the last time he made the playoffs was with Edmonton, I believe, in 2032. We're now in 2035, so it's been 3 years since he's made the playoffs. Let's try to get back there, Beau. Man, I am disappointed. I thought this team would be a little bit better, but no, unfortunately, the Los Angeles Kings finished the season 38, 36, and 8, which is not good enough for a playoff run. They are 22nd in the entire NHL. But although the Kings have a bad season, Beau Akey's is pretty decent here. He scores 27 points. We've kind of gotten, acclimatized to him being in that 20 to 30 point range for the last 5 or 6 seasons now. He's been in there, but he is a plus this year, which he hasn't been in quite some time. He's a +5, playing 22 minutes a night. So a very respectable season out of Beau Akey. Let's hope that he can keep that up and that the team around him can get a little bit better. He's got 5 more years left on his $5.7 million deal. So let's hope he can improve every single year that he's on that contract. That would be crazy. I don't know if he will, but let's see what happens in his 11th NHL season. Okay, and here we are, Beau Akey's 10th season. I said 11th at the start of at the end of the last season. My apologies for that. It's actually his 10th year in the NHL. He's 31 now, so he's going to start to drop off here a little bit, but still an 80 overall for now. Offense still looks pretty similar, but a little bit weaker here, as we do not have an 87 on that second line. We had who was it? I forget who it was, but there was an 87 centerman here last year. Quinton Byfield, though, and Adam Fantilli still on that first line. So I don't know if this is a playoff team. Looks a little bit worse than last year. In the net, we still have Ola Ekholm, but the team looks slightly worse than last year, so let's hope that Beau Akey and the boys can perform for Beau Akey's 10th season in the NHL. Let's hope he can make the playoffs. And again, Beau Akey falls short of the playoffs. This is starting to become a very concerning pattern in his career. I believe it's the 5th or 6th year in a row now that he hasn't made the playoffs. Yeah, it was the 5th year in a row that Beau Akey did not make the playoffs, and this year he is part of the problem, actually. He only has 13 points in 82 games, the lowest in his career since, for like how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The lowest in his career for 8 years. That's pretty rough stuff, I'm not going to lie. Only 13 points in 82 games. We need more out of Beau Akey, and we need more out of this team. He's still an 80 overall. His stats still look the same, but at 32, he might start to drop off a little bit, so let's hope he can have a good last few years here in LA. Let's hope they can turn it around somehow. I don't know what they need. They need some depth. They need star power as well, so it's going to be a rough couple of years for Beau Akey, but hopefully the GM of the LA Kings has better plans and Beau Akey's 11th season will go better. And at 32 years old, Beau Akey has started his decline. He is now a 79 overall. Last year he was an 80. His defensive stats down to 3.5, physical down to 2.5, but all the other things back up at 3. So let's see, man. Beau Akey, he's got basically one more good year in him. Even though his contract, he's still on board for another 4 years at $5.76 million. And this defensive core does not look good. The offense looks okay with Quinton Byfield and Adam Fantilli, but after that, really falls off a mountain. Goaltending-wise, 82 and 83 is okay. It's definitely serviceable, but we need better offense and we need better defense. I don't know if this is a playoff team, and I don't know if Beau Akey will sniff the playoffs anytime soon here with this kind of a team, but he's in his older age, so he's definitely going to want to. So maybe will he request a trade or something like that? I don't know, but we will find out in his 11th season how the Los Angeles Kings do. And things just keep getting worse for Los Angeles fans and Beau Akey fans everywhere. This is the 6th year in a row now Beau Akey has missed the playoffs. The Kings only win 27 games. They go 44 losses and 11 overtime losses. So really unfortunate record, and Beau Akey once again misses out on the playoffs. Akey, though, despite being only a 78 overall, now he dropped again another overall in the regular season, but despite being a 78 overall, he scores 28 points in 82 games, which is pretty okay. It's up there in his entire career points-wise, so not a bad season out of Beau Akey, but just the rest of the team, there's nothing around him that can really help this poor of a team. When you're second worst team in the league, there's a reason for it, and maybe it's because you're paying $5.765 million to a 78 overall. I don't know, but either way, Beau Akey, he's 33 now. I assume he has a few more years left in him, but not that many. We're gonna find out if he calls it quits or if he decides to come back for another few years here in Los Angeles. And Beau Akey's 12th season in the NHL. He's now 33 years old and he's dropped to a 78 overall. Also, his potential dropped to exact 7th defenseman. So definitely not the same player he once was, but he's playing in that top 6 still, or sorry, the top 4 still. I'm always used to saying it the way that the offense is set up. But either way, Beau Akey, here on the second line defensively, that's okay. But then offense still not fantastic. They do have a bit more depth than last year, I will say, but still 377s in their team is not great. And then goaltending wise, at least they have Ulf Lander, a medium elite goalie who they drafted in the second round, actually. Wow, 87 overall. So that's good. They have a good goalie. They have Adam Fantilli, who's definitely carrying the troops on this one. And they have Beau Akey, the 33-year-old. So 12th season for Beau Akey. It might be his last. Let's try to make the playoffs, boys. I believe this is now the 7th year in a row that Beau Akey has missed out on the playoffs. The Los Angeles Kings are good enough to go 33, 37, and 12, but that's not saying very much. They miss out on the playoffs once again, and they're 28th in the entire league. Oh, boys, and it's all crumbling down for Beau Akey, who got sent to the minors during this season. He played 38 games for LA. He scored 9 points. In those 38 games, he was a -8. And then he went down to the AHL and he did his thing. He scored 25 points in 39 games, tore it up. He was a +19 as well. So I will check the AHL and see if the Ontario Reign made the playoffs. But either way, Beau Akey will not be too pleased about that. 78 overall still, with 3 more years left on his deal, 2 more years after this one. So I don't know what's going to happen. I will check the AHL and see if the Ontario Reign made the playoffs, though. And the Ontario Reign are the 3rd best team in the league, so they do indeed make the playoffs. They're 43, 18, and 11. I see a few teams haven't finished the season, but they are going to be in the playoffs regardless. So I will simulate the playoffs and see if Beau Akey, can maybe get a Calder Cup. I believe that's what the AHL championship is called. So we will see if Beau Akey can perform in the AHL playoffs. And in Beau Akey's return to the playoffs, he loses in round 1, which is a familiar sight for him. I don't believe that he's ever made it past the first round in his entire career. So loses in round 1 to the Abbotsford Canucks, the Ontario Reign do, in 5 games. And look at this, it seems like Beau Akey actually did not play in the AHL playoffs. So let me check the NHL and see. No, he wouldn't have played in the NHL playoffs because the NHL team didn't make it. The Los Angeles Kings didn't make it. So Beau Akey does not play in the playoffs. Maybe if he did, the Ontario Reign would have performed better, but that could be it for his career. He could end his career going down to the AHL and not even playing in the playoffs. That would be a very sad sight, but let me get to the retirement screen and let's find out. It has been 13 seasons since Beau Akey made his NHL debut, and he is now back in the AHL to start off this season. He's 34 years old, and he's a 77 overall, playing on that top defensive pairing. The defensive core looks weak out here with some 68s and 67 overalls. On offense, though, we do have a 72 overall medium top 6 player, but other than that, it's an AHL team. What do you really expect from them? 73 overall goaltender. I'm not sure if they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not sure how Beau Akey will perform, but it will probably be his last season in the simulation. And Beau Akey and the Ontario Reign here make the playoffs. They're the 8th best team in the AHL. They go 39, 22, and 11, which is quite a respectable record. So congratulations to them. And Beau Akey, at the age of 35, did his thing down here as his exact AHL top 2 potential. He goes and scores 41 points in 72 games, which is a career high. Well, if you just account for his NHL numbers for sure, but a good season out of Beau Akey, helping some younger guys out here, helping out. Where is he with the X Factors? Here he is, Frank Haller. For the future of the LA Kings, Beau Akey does his service, but he still is making $5.765 million for another year after this. So they're going to go into the playoffs. Beau Akey hopefully will actually play in the playoffs this year, and we will see how they perform. And you know what? It's not a Stanley Cup championship, but I think that Beau Akey, his family, his friends will be more than happy to see him lift some sort of trophy in his career as him and the Ontario Reign get the Calder Cup. And on their march to the Calder Cup, Beau Akey does not have too big of a role to play. He is playing at 25.5 minutes a night, but he was a -7. Only scores 9 points in 26 games, but I would not be surprised if he decides to run into the sunset after getting the Calder Cup, his first ever trophy in his entire career. So let's see what he decides to do at retirement time. And Beau Akey has decided to play out his entire deal with the Los Angeles Kings. Well, he is in the AHL this year, and he's dropped to a 74 overall. But he wants to help these young guys perform, teach them the ropes, how to be a serviceable defenseman. And he's going to do just that, playing alongside of the young Boris Tulipov here. The rest of the team looks okay, some young guys for sure, but he is the veteran on that blue line holding the team together. We still have Frank Haller here, who was a great player for the Reign. Emil Yarventi is here as well. So some veterans and some young kids for sure. But Beau Akey, he's been a staple in the NHL and the AHL for quite some time. It's going to be sad to see him go, but let's see if they can get another Calder Cup. And Beau Akey, perhaps he had some struggles in the NHL, but in the AHL, this team is doing fantastic. The Ontario Reign go 42-21-9, good enough to get them 6th place in the entire AHL. Beau Akey, though, definitely showing his age in the AHL. He gets hurt for 7 games, drops to a 73 overall, and only scores 21 points in 65 games. Not great, but you know, playing 24 minutes a night, being a plus player at the age of 36, what more can you really ask for out of the guy? He's dedicated his whole life to hockey. He's made some dollars, and he's played a lot of minutes and scored a lot of points. So, good season for him, and let's see what the playoffs hold. And you know what? What better way to close out his career than a first-round exit? He's done it for most of his career. So the Ontario Reign go out against the Colorado Eagles. I think it's the Colorado Eagles anyways, in 6 games. What is likely Beau Akey's last season in, North America, to be honest. So let's take a look at those individual stats. And Beau Akey, at the age of 36, scores 3 goals in 6 games in the playoffs, drops to a 72 overall, playing 25 minutes a night. He can still get it done, looking at the minutes anyways. He's been eating up so many minutes these past few years. Even in the NHL, he ate up 21.5 minutes at the age of 33 or so. So definitely has the endurance and the speed, but just the body just gives out every once in a while. Look at that speed up there at 86, acceleration and speed. Those shot blocking, stick checking numbers down, but he's still aware. You notice that his defensive awareness still 85, so the mind is still in it, but it's just the body just gives out every once in a while. So 72 overall, 36 years of age. This could be it for his career. And here he is in the 2041 retirement class. Beau Akey goes out. He played 941 games, scored 71 goals, close to that 100-goal mark, and 186 assists for 257 points. Some people might be saying that's a massive bust for a 10th overall player, but this man loved the game of hockey. There's no questioning that. He played 2 extra years in the AHL when he could have just called it quits. He helped the young players coming up in the Los Angeles organization to learn the game, the North American style, and how to play, with more responsibility. In his career, he was a pretty reliable player, scoring anywhere mostly from usually around the 15, the 20-point mark for the most part of his career. He scored a lot of 20, 30-point seasons. Here in the AHL and the OHL, those don't really count, but many 20 and 30-point seasons, a little bit in the late teens as well. He only had 2 full seasons in the NHL that were 3 full seasons in the NHL that were under the 20-point mark, so definitely a respectable career for Beau Akey. He was a career -89, which is not fantastic, and he took 315 penalty minutes, shot 1,385 shots, and had a shooting percentage of 5%. He never really got the chance on the power play either. I feel like in the real world he could be a power play kind of guy on that second unit or something like that. And he had 11 shorthanded points, averaging 20 minutes a night in the NHL, so definitely got some mileage out of him. And hits wise, he wasn't a big hitter, but he did block a lot of shots, blocking 1,116 shots, and then the giveaways to takeaways there as well. So overall, a very good career for Beau Akey. If you guys made it this far, this is the time where we usually check the statistics and where they rank all time, so I will do that. Beau Akey, definitely not the flashiest player that we've ever watched simulate, so I don't think he'll be up there in like the top 50s or anything like that of any of them, but I will go looking for those stats anyways, and I will find them and show you guys screenshots of them right now. His 941 games played is good enough to tie him all time with Scott Thornton and be one spot below Bobby Rousseau. Sadly, his other stats do not show up in the all-time rankings here, as they can only go 20 pages, which is around 2,000 people. So unfortunately, he does fit outside the top 2,000 in most of his stats. But I will say that I had a lot of fun simulating Beau Akey's career. A prospect that I was not aware of before I got the comment from McDaniels and I decided to look him up and stuff like that. So I'm really thankful that I did do that, and, you know, gives me a new appreciation for the player for sure, even though I think he will, you know, I'm not sure if he will play 941 games in the NHL in the real world, but I'm sure that he will have a very respectable career nonetheless. You know, in the simulation, I feel like Beau Akey can be classified as a guy who just loves the game of hockey. He's a speed demon, you know, at the age of 36, still having 86 speed and acceleration. The fact that his awareness is still at 85 and 81, and all of his other like skill stats are down there, is just so coincidental, and it's so funny. Makes me think that, you know, he just loves playing hockey. He'll go out and he'll play in the European League or anything like that. So really happy I did the career simulation. If you guys liked it, feel free to give it a like and comment anybody else you want to see me do a career simulation with. We've got NHL 24 content coming up as well. We have the our NHL 23 GM mode with Ottawa that's going to be wrapping up fairly soon here. And yeah, so that's it for this episode, guys. We did a Beau Akey career simulation. We do have another one coming up in the works. It takes me quite a while to film these videos, so, you know, if you can show any love, that would be much appreciated. You want to look at the rest of the draft class, I'll scroll through it and allow you guys to do so, but that's going to be all for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, week, month, anything like that. Also, school is starting up for me, so I will be a little bit slower on the uploads from here on out, but do not fear, I will still have uploads. At least one upload a week is what I want to do. We will see how that goes, but that's definitely my plan for the week, or for the rest of the school year. But if you guys like the video, give it a like, comment if you're new, and subscribe. You guys know what to do. You've been on YouTube for long enough, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Peace out.